Hey guys, I just wanted to check in. Sorry that I'm not with you today as you're working on your paper, but thanks for being understanding and thanks for being awesome as you always are. I'm going to share my screen with you and just kind of walk you through the slides so that you know the content that you're going to be working on today. Obviously, we talked about our International Month of Gratitude. And so today's attitude of gratitude prompt is what's amazing about being a Fisher's Tiger. Just something fun to think about, right? I know that you guys get to this point where you are so ready to graduate and be done, and college decisions are starting to roll in, and you're thinking about what you want to do in your future, and all of that's awesome. But sometimes it's really important to stop and be present and be grateful for the moment that you're in, because you're going to blink and it's going to be June 4th and you're going to be ready to graduate. So, just taking a second to think about, I don't know, big things or small things that you really appreciate about your school community. That can be as amazing as the fantastic facilities that you have access to that most people in this country would be envious of. Or that can be that you love the opportunity to see your friends. Or that can be something really simple like you've had a really, really great, impactful teacher. So again, nothing that you have to necessarily discuss, although certainly you're welcome to, as long as you're respectful of the space and the people in it. But more than anything, I just want to remind you how important it is and the power of practicing gratitude and how good that can be for us, psychologically and physiologically and emotionally, right? So just something to think about on this, for this month of gratitude. Let me go back and share our screen for a second. So as you're working through the process of this paper, there were a couple of things that I really wanted to hammer home. So let me work through the slides and then you guys will have plenty of time to work. But if you have any questions, make sure that you email me, okay? So this is just kind of a rough outline of the overview of our assignment process. And obviously today, you're going to do a thesis workshop. It's on Canvas, and I will talk you through the pieces of the thesis. But also, I want you to spend time drafting. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to start at least working on a draft, depending upon where you are in your process. So that's today. And then for you guys on the 9th, your draft will be due by the end of that day. So at 11:59. That's different from what I normally do. Normally it would be due that following day, but I'm going to put you in some really strategic and intentional feedback groups, and I have to assign you papers. So if it is not submitted on Canvas, it makes it really hard to build those groups. So it's very, very rare that I say no late submissions, but in this case, you're welcome to have it ready on your own time, but you're not going to be able to participate in feedback or get points for the draft if you don't have it turned in. Okay. So just to clarify how important that is. On the 10th and 11th, we're going to do draft review and revision time. We have these critical friends feedback circles that we're going to be working through. And then your e-learning assignment is either, depending upon how our paper goes, going to be related to your paper or going to be an introductory activity for the color of water. And then your paper is due Sunday night by 11:59 p.m. Okay. So just so you know, I wanted to run through your timeline with you because I know many of you need to know your due dates and deadlines in order to stay focused and to stay on track. And so those are your due dates and deadlines. Again, if that's anything you have questions about, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. Okay. All right, let me talk you through a few more slides. So we talked about, oh, there's your attitude of gratitude slide. We talked about this the other day, and I had already revised this for your class the other day. But remember, you're going to have an introductory paragraph, 2 synopsis paragraphs, 2 paragraphs about comparative analysis, and then 1 conclusion paragraph. Okay, so as you're thinking about the structure for the paper, this is how you're going to be organizing and putting it together. And then this is your thesis workshop. I need to give credit to Miss Shepard. I borrowed this slide from her, but I thought it was really, really solid. So what you're going to do, just like the thesis I showed you the other day, is you're going to build a thesis statement that reflects and includes each of the color-coded pieces. So let me talk you through it for just a second. The first thing you'll see in yellow, so right here, is the name of both of the authors of the articles. And remember, these are not your friends. So this isn't, Eric and Amy or whatever their names are. You need to use their last names. That's what we do in academic writing. So Bartels and Edelman, those are the two pieces that this particular person read. In green, you're doing things that they both do in their article that I'm going to discuss and show examples of. So they each present a one-sided view of the co-parenting debate and through their arguments against their spouses. So both articles have a one-sided view, and both articles present arguments against their spouses. So both of those have that in common, and that's the green. And then the blue is, what are you as a writer? What is something you can hook onto that you want to critique or evaluate? So in this case, the one-sided view and their arguments of their spouses show us that perhaps the way to improve the alignment between expectation and reality in marriage is better communication. So that is something that this writer has said, I'm going to focus on that this expectation, the way that we get better in our relationships is if we talk to each other. And we all said after we read these articles, like maybe they should just talk to each other and not like write about each other, right? So this is a really good thesis because it includes the authors, it includes the things that are in the articles that they have in common, and it includes something that I, as a writer, am going to critique, discuss, and evaluate, okay? Now, this one is the one I did the other day. It does all the same things. The structure is just a little bit different. Okay. So the things that they do in their article that I can discuss and show examples of, they both talk about how princess culture is powerful. Okay. So that's really important that both Ornstein and Jargon articulate the power of princess culture. In yellow, I have my authors, but instead of smooshing them together at the beginning of the text, I've dropped them in like this. So it's more like an attributive tag. All right. It's just a stylistic choice. Either is perfectly fine and appropriate. This is just a little bit different style. And then in the blue, the arguable point that I can critique or discuss is that princess culture is innocent and can actually be empowering to young women. So Jargon's article really talks about how princess culture, when kids are exposed to princess culture, both boys and girls end up being stronger leaders when they're older, and they have very strongly defined sort of gender expectations, but not necessarily stereotypical gender expectations, but just that like girls can be leaders too, and that girls can be powerful. So the Jargon article is really interesting if you didn't get a chance to read it. The study's fascinating. So again, ultimately, the yellow, the green, and the blue are here. It just looks stylistically a little bit different from this example. Okay. So when you do your thesis workshop, I don't know if I have it pulled up right straight away, guys, but if you are on Canvas and you go into your modules and you look, the very next thing you need to do is the thesis workshop. Okay. So if you click in your to-dos, it's right here. And when you look at it, you'll see it looks exactly the way it did in the slides. So what you're going to do is you're going to reply. You're going to post your thesis statement. It can be color coded or it doesn't have to be color coded. That's up to you. And then once you post your thesis, I want you to scroll through and try to find a couple of examples that connect to or are similar to the thesis that you created. So you're going to scroll and see what you can find. And then you're going to give the writers a little bit of feedback. Okay. So make sure that you do that. And the goal is for you guys that is submitted by the end of the day on Friday, like the end of the day. So we might as well hammer that out and get that done while you're in class. Okay. Okay. Let's go back to our slides for just a second. So those are building your thesis. Now I'm going to be really transparent. I know most of you are not ready to do anything more than that. but Sam, Jesse, I know that you are, and some of the rest of you are too. So here's sort of the next step. If you're ready to write your introduction, we talked about this the other day. This is a sample introduction for what it could look like. This is one of the synopsis paragraph examples. Another one and another one. You can see that they get sort of increasingly longer as they go. These are color coded, guys, only to show you kind of some ideas about like summary stuff in blue. The yellow is rhetoric stuff. The green is analysis stuff. So I color coded that one just so you could see ways that it's broken into pieces. Ultimately, it's going to be a little bit of summary, a little bit of rhetorical analysis, and then a little bit of analysis. And you should have at least one quote, if not several quotes. So think about how you want to kind of put that all together again by way of style. All right. And then another example, and then a final example. Okay. Now, then this, there are a couple of typos in this, so be patient with me as I hadn't had a chance to really proofread it yet today. But this is an example of an exemplar comparative analysis paragraph where they're talking about the power of princesses and how princess culture has sort of evolved. And they talk about in both pieces how that plays out. So if you're ready to start writing those later paragraphs, those paragraphs 4 and 5, this is an example for you of that. Okay. But again, I recognize that most of you are not in that place. Most of you are simply, hopefully your graphic organizer is already finished. If it isn't, that's something you need to get finished. You need to develop a thesis sentence so that you know what you're articulating. And then even still, you're going back and you're just kind of starting the initial drafting process. So I recognize that most of you are not ready to do those paragraphs yet. But spending some time on those synopsis paragraphs would be a really good use of your time for today. Okay. Let me show you the slide quickly that works you through the writer workshop choices for class so that you kind of know what you can be working on. So if you did not finish your graphic organizer, I mean, seriously, y'all, you need to get that done because the reality is every paper process from now on builds on itself. So if you miss a step in the beginning, you're always behind and you need to get caught up. So get your graphic organizer done. But honestly, if you've read your articles, you might want to do your thesis first so that you can post that. And people can give you some feedback to your thesis. So that might be a place you want to pour into and spend some time. But these two things you need to do: go through your articles and your double entry journals and really highlight things that you know you want to put in your paper. Now you're not reading it for understanding, you're reading it for evidence. So you're going to go back through and really zoom in on stuff that you know is significant enough that you want to put it in your paper. Okay. And then start writing your draft. Start writing your draft, start writing your draft, start writing your draft. You really need to start writing your draft because I don't want you to have to work on it a ton over the weekend. And I don't want you to be in a position where Tuesday rolls around and your draft isn't finished and that just becomes messy. Okay. So make sure that you start working on your draft as quickly as you can. All right. Again, guys, sorry that I couldn't be with you to do all of this, but I don't know. You get the video me. That's fine. Sometimes maybe that's even better because you can pause or you can fast forward. If you need anything, please feel free to reach out to me via email and let me know how I can support you. Otherwise, I'll plan on seeing you on Tuesday where we'll just dig in and draft it out so that we can be ready to turn it in by the 14th. Okay. Have any questions, email me, guys. Otherwise, have a great weekend. See you guys.